Today is September 2nd, 2022. Well, are you an extremist labeled by our poser and president? Are you a political extremist? Because listen what they have defined extremism. They have defined extremism if you are not in lock and step with the rest of the country. So this basically means if you don't support abortion, if you question the integrity of elections, if you think that we should look after the welfare of our own people before the welfare of other people around the globe, you're an extremist. If you believe that drag queens don't have any place in teaching children anything, you're an extremist. If you believe that human beings only have male and female, you're an extremist. If you believe in a God that is actually exists in a triunity, you're an extremist. If you believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, you're an extremist. You have been labeled an extremist by your poser-in-chief as of yesterday, and his press secretary. And in case you didn't watch what transpired yesterday before the world, the poser-in-chief got up there with a deliberately darkened red-themed set to make it look like he was a Sith Lord addressing a galactic federation about the internal threat to the Empire. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it looked like to me. He looked like Emperor Palpatine getting up there at a podium and talking about the threat within. Abraham Lincoln didn't even label and talk about the rebellious Confederate States the way the poser-in-chief that we have today has done with the people like me. Am I an extremist? Probably. By definition, I am extreme in just about everything in my life. I am not mainstream with anything. I go against most trends. I mean, I don't have to advertise it. I live it. Oh, for crying out loud, I mean, I'm married to a black woman. That's not generally a trend. I'm a Christian who talks in tongues. I'm a Christian who believes in a fivefold ministry. I believe that prophets exist. I believe that God speaks to people in many ways and can give you words to tell people. I believe in the supernatural. I believe in things. I don't believe. I know there are things that are only deemed myth and legend and fairy tales. So yeah, I'm an extremist. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't have to have an armory. But man, a shotgun with a few slugs will take care of a problem. I believe people have the right to defend themselves. I don't believe in man-made climate change. I'm an extremist. Are you an extremist? Because I want to tell you something. The poser-in-chief that pretends to occupy the White House has labeled you an enemy of the state, whether you like it or not. And they have just gaslighted the entire country to think that you're a threat. And their goon squad, their brown shirts, Antifa, Black Lives Matters, they're going to be coming for you. You don't think these guys... I'm going to tell you something. I want you to go back. And I don't like to draw these things out because I don't like to make people... attention spans online are about 15 minutes. So I try to keep these things at about 15 minutes. I know history generally more than the average person. I get some names and some dates wrong, but I know a lot of significant events in human history and how they affected today. And I'm going to draw a parallel to what's going on. Before Hitler took over Germany, he was legally elected a chancellor for a fringe party that was called the Nazi Party. And the German equivalent of the president at the time had him as a chancellor. He wouldn't be considered a vice president, but more like a secretary of state. And at that time, in world history, the communist movement was gaining ground and people were terrified of it. And at the time, it was just embedded in Russia. And what the Bolsheviks did is what the poser-in-chief did last night. He's done what Mao has done. He's done what Stalinists have done. He did what Bolsheviks has done. And he's doing what the Nazis did. And what happened is Nazism rose to power as the counteract the communist threat that was at the doorstep of Germany. Because communist Russia was at the German borders. And the German people were terrified. And so there was talk that there were communist infiltrators within German society, and there was, just as there was in the United States at the time. And so what happened was the Germans had a Congress building that they called the Reichstag, and it mysteriously burned down. And it was blamed on a communist sympathizer. It was a young man in his 20s. And I think they executed him for it, but you don't hear much about that. But it was a pivotal moment in human history because that is the thing that that Chancellor Adolf used to galvanize power for himself. So he convinced the ruling body, the presidency of Germany at the time, to give him emergency powers and an Emergency Powers Act, because it was a national emergency that we will deal with the communists in our midst. And that is how Uncle Adolf came to power. That's how he got it. He literally handed it over, the emergency powers, to him, and he took complete control. And that was the end of it. And the brown shirts, his brown shirts, look it up. He actually got that idea from Mussolini. But the brown shirts were the ones that kind of, got a hold of that forced compliance. They were a goon squad. And the liberals in this country have a goon squad. It's called Antifa. That's why they never denounce them. It's called Black Lives Matters. That's how they never denounce them. They are used. You notice that since this clown has been in office, they haven't rioted, done stupid things. If he doesn't get reelected, watch, it'll happen again. So what happens is our poser-in-chief gets on screen with those optics of red and black, which is interesting enough. If you realize, go look at some of the stuff from Hitler from the 30s. Go take a look at it. Go take a look. That was done on purpose. But I think that they don't realize what it really... They, I think, wanted to have a particular effect to make people seem frightened. But what it did is it made people say, oh my God, you really are the totalitarian. You are the authoritarian. Now, whether you want it to be communist or fascist, it's funny how they do that. Fascism is seen as far right. Leftists seem as being communist. But in the end, it's all authoritarian. So these guys get up there saying they're going to take your rights, they're going to take your rights, they're going to take your rights, they're going to take your rights. You're going to lose your right to marry whoever you love. Well, damn it, I love a dog. Can I marry the dog? I love the dog. Can I marry the dog? You don't think that's coming? I have loved multiple women in my life, and boy, if I could have married 2 of them, if that was legal, and they wanted to get married, and they didn't have a problem with it, I would be all for it. Let's do it. But the feminists aren't going to like that, are they? But if you're a woman, you got 2 men that love you, and they're all right with it, more power to you. I mean, if you can have same-sex marriage, why don't we have these other marriages? I mean, really, why don't we have them? Don't you think we should have them? I mean, if you want a right to marry whoever you love, what if you love your mother? What if you love your sister? You don't think that stuff happens? Somewhere along the line, you have to draw the line somewhere. Now, how do you fight back against this? Well, I'm going to do 2 things. Register as an independent, not as a Republican or a Democrat. Register as an independent, because those are the guys that they really want, because they can swing both ways. But the best way to do it is to try to fly under the radar and register as an independent, because they're always going to be courting you, both sides. I want freedom. I don't want to live under a communist one world order, which they have been trying to push since I was a kid. They just never were able to push the younger generation into the foolishness like they do now. Which are non-binary, we're all going to die because of man-made climate change nonsense. Oh, the glaciers are melting. Oh, and the glaciers are melting, and they're finding human artifacts and things from the past before the glaciers were there. So what does that tell you? It tells you it was warmer in the past than it has been. Yeah. This is ridiculous. And we're living in a scary time. This is authoritarian. They're trying to bring it to a one-world government. They're working hard at that. All of you who are listening to me, we can't go along with the nonsense. You've got to be blind if you can't see it. Don't try to reach the leftists in your family. Don't try to listen to the people who have this over their head and not paying attention, who are walking around like a horse pulling a carriage with blinders on. You can't reach them. You never will. We have to stand up for what we believe in, and I'm a big believer in this. The biggest thing you can do is vote. Whether or not you think it's rigged or not, you have to do it. Because in the end, you are held responsible by the one who speaks with the voice of many waters. You're held responsible for the political system that he has put you in at the time you live. If we had a king, you don't have a choice. So that makes him responsible for dealing with a king. But he also puts it on our heads. When we live in a constitutional republic, we are supposed to do our due diligence, our duty, to make sure that our voice is heard as a constitutional or a representative republic. You are responsible for that. You do not want to stand before him on the day and say, well, you know what, you never voted when you should have been salt and light. And I'm speaking specifically to Christians who've been sitting around waiting to be taken away. And I'm guilty of this in the past. I don't want nothing to do with the world. I'm waiting for the world to take me away. I'm waiting for Jesus to come and take me away, and I don't have to bother with this nonsense. But in the meantime, I lost my saltiness, and I put my light under a basket. And I let society around me rot because I decided I just wanted to check the hell out. I hope this makes sense to somebody. And I don't care what creed you apply yourself or consider yourself part of. But if you believe in family, you believe in the right to work hard to benefit yourself and your family, and you believe in capitalism, you believe that you should grow something out of your garden and sell it at the end of your driveway, for crying out loud, without government interference. Damn it, don't be voting for these leftist shitheads. And don't be voting for a president who's got mashed potatoes for a brain, is being manipulated like a marionette at the other end by God knows what. Okay, man, I hope this made some sense to some of you. And I try to code some words, because I really think that YouTube, even though I got 400 people following me. Not like I view that as being important, but I get 24 views, 30 views, 12 views, 14 views. I got 400 people to subscribe, and I don't even get that. Just get that small amount. Don't tell me there isn't something funny going on with this. Don't vote for these people. They don't have your best interest at heart. None of them do. And look, and I'm not, even on the conservative end, you don't vote for rhinos, because they're right with them. The poser-in-chief basically said it yesterday. Oh, these aren't regular Republicans that I can work with. Yeah, because they're part of the system. If you want change, you have to do radical change with people that are going to stand up. I don't like how weak and pathetic Republicans are. They let these leftists run all over them. And the reason Trump was so popular is because he got up there and he spoke like I'm speaking. Speak like I'm speaking, like a regular person, that these people are assholes, or I'm not putting up with the bullshit. And he's done that. If you ever watch his rallies, he's done that. I know people, I have friends of mine that didn't vote for Trump because he didn't act presidential. But you want Biden instead? With clear cognitive decline, who was a marionette puppet on a string? I don't want some smooth-talking joker enacting laws and playing games like Obama was. Smooth talker. Smooth talker. The devil is a smooth talker. He is the best smooth talker. I don't want a smooth talker. I want someone that's going to be rough, gruff, and do what he says he's going to do and get stuff done for the benefit of everybody. Rich, poor, black, white, brown. I don't give a damn. Just put policies that benefit everybody. And don't specialize to somebody who can't decide whether they got a set of nuts on them or they got a uterus. Or they can't figure it out. It's freaking ridiculous. All right, till next time.